Roxanne, if you'll take roll, and if we could all please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has the council had time to review the agenda? I'm not mic'd up, so if you have a problem hearing me, please let me know.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as set forth in the packet.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please show a voting sign. Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments. Persons wishing to address the city council on items regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda item is called. Persons who wish to address the city council regarding items not on the agenda that are under the jurisdiction of the city council may do so at this time when called upon by the mayor. Comments on personnel matters, matters pending in the courts, or with outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Any presentation is for information only. No action will be taken. Come over. We're calling that our podium today.
Where do I have to go?
Right there.
The corner of
The corner of that one is what we're calling podium today.
I thought you were going to tell me to go home. I'll tell you, everyone thinks I should tell you guys what to do, and I don't because you kicked me out. But I was asked with several people, why don't we fix the swimming pool that has broken glasses and lots of paint chips? Well, I said, well, Bauer has been here before you and asked about paint and so forth. So I said, probably better hold it. They said, no, you need to say something about all those broken glasses. And they are there, I've seen them, particularly the one as I walk in. What is now, I think, the concession stand, but of course it's not open. But we do need to clean that up. And I'm not going to be in charge of that.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, consent agenda. Has council had time to review the consent agenda? Are there questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Motion's been made to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please show a voting sign. Motion passes. Roxanne, thank you for getting the pharmaceutical stuff in there. Item 8, Iola Library. Give me 1 second, please. There we go. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sharon Moreland. I am the new director of the Iola Public Library. So I'm going to be coming to this meeting anyway, just to introduce myself. But there is an opportunity for the library to participate in the Emergency Connectivity Fund. I think it's a grant. It's through USAC or in the FCC. There's a lot of money floating around right now for libraries and museums through the American Rescue Plan Act. And this is just one of those. And there is a potential need for us to utilize the city as our financial go-between for this, because you all have the employee identification number for Iowa Public as you do our payroll. So we don't have our own, which means we can't get a SAM.gov account, and there's just some loops that we would need to run through. So I was hoping to ask the council, just as I don't even know if it's going to be needed, but if it is needed, that we work with the city to get this grant funding for, it's for putting the internet in people's homes. So what we would be doing is hopefully checking out Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots for several months at a time, so that families that don't have internet and cannot afford internet can check out the internet and the laptop from the library and actually do some good with it for longer than 3 weeks. So that's the plan, and I just wanted to, I don't know that we'll need the city for this. There might be a way to get it without, but I wanted to bring it to your attention and ask permission before I ask for permission.
Questions on having this material? It sounds like you would, first I was thinking you would put these at the library. You say you would check them out?
Check them out from the library. We currently check out Wi-Fi hotspots to people. They can come to the library and check it out for a shorter period of time. and it's just the Wi-Fi hotspot. Or we also have things called, I think they're called smart spots, which is basically a tablet phone, like a cell phone without the cellular, that also has the hotspot. So people can check that out, take it home, and at least, use a computer that's big with Wi-Fi. So we already have the process and the policies for doing this.
So when you make the application, would it be for an unlimited number of laptops, or
No.
you make a finite
Yeah, I'm hoping for about 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah, we're stealing this idea from the Wichita Public Library, who's going to be getting 250. So I can't manage 250, but 10 I think we could manage, and that should fulfill the needs that we have
So you
here.
kind of would check them out the same way you would check out movies or books or something?
Yeah.
How long were you gonna let them check them out for?
Several months. So that would be the difference. And because this is grant funded, there's no sort of tax funds involved, which makes it a little bit nicer. And we can be more generous, and I think that having it for a longer period makes it so they'll be actually useful and can change a family's life. You can apply for work in 3 months with that, whereas for 3 weeks, it's not long enough.
Anything good for schools, kids that don't have hotspots at their.
And that's exactly what it's for.
They check out Chromebooks, and if you don't have a hotspot, you're not going to be using it, so.
And I guess that's one of my questions is, are there restrictions on who can check them out, or is it first come, first served?
It'd be first come, first served, yep. So it's, this funding is for schools and libraries. So school districts are able to apply for this and use it however they want. But the goal is to get internet into as many homes as possible. The FCC realized after COVID, there's so many people that couldn't take advantage of class at home or work from home because they don't have broadband or they don't have internet and they can't afford it. So this is a way, by working through the public library, that we can provide that.
The college has done something very similar with laptops, particularly for a lot of the students that didn't have it. When we closed down campus, they couldn't get into the library to use those computers, and they saw the need, and they're doing something very similar for that population.
Now, I guess what my own, and I don't know that it's a concern, I think it's a great idea. But one of my concerns is that, can they check it out and then bring it back, check it in, and check it right back out? Where this is only gonna give 10 families, and only 10 families.
Access to it at one
Yes.
time. That's something that the board and I would have to work on, how to make it equitable and fair
Yeah.
to folks. So
'Cause I mean-
usually if it's on hold, if there's somebody waiting in line, then you can't check it
Okay.
in, check it back out, just like we do with library materials.
Okay.
If there's a waiting list, then no, you can't keep it longer.
Okay.
And then we also need to consider for, again, with policy, if they take it and after 3 months, they never bring it back, well, in that case, it's theft, and we have to treat it as such.
Sure.
We have mechanisms in place to
Is
do
there going to be
that.
any sites they can't go to?
Yeah, so it will be, there's the Children Internet Protection Act, and it will be SIPA compliant, so it will be filtered.
Okay, good deal.
Everybody want to go ahead?
Will you be able to expand on this? Say like you get 10 of them, and then you see it would have been better if you got 20 or 25. Would
If
that
I can-
expand in the future?
If I can find the funds, yeah. So I'm trying to think creatively and take advantage of this sort of flood of money that we've come into. We just did a grant last week for an outdoor shelter, a solar-powered charging station, and expanded outdoor Wi-Fi. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Someone want to make a motion here?
I can,
Carl, you had another question, Carl?
Go ahead.
I make a motion that the approve the city and sponsoring the agency for the public library application for funding through the emergency community funds.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please show voting sign. Opposed? And congratulations and welcome
Thank
to the
you.
new position. We thank you.
thank you.
Item B.
Good evening. I came to the council on January 11th to start this year's condemnation. We set up a hearing date of March 8th. The council voted on March 8th to condemn 4 properties, 321 North Walnut, 405 South 3rd, 503 North Street, 610 North 3rd. We gave them the customary full 120 days for the owners to demo the properties. On July 7th, they were not done, so we started the bid process. We advertised it on the local station, Facebook. We also advertised it in the paper. And what I've done the last few years, I sent hard copies to the 3 local contractors that have done work for the city in the past. We received 2 bids back. The first one was Ray's Metal Depot for a total of $11,900. And the second one from Mueller and Sons for a total of $8,500. So I'm coming to the staff tonight, or the council tonight, asking for your approval to go ahead and have these houses demoed.
I know traditionally we use Ray's a lot. Do you have any concerns about Mueller's? Are you fine with?
I believe the 3 I sent them to is Ray's, Mueller and Son, and LB Dirt Works out of Humboldt. I believe all 3 of them have done work for the city since I've been here, and all 3 of them have done great work.
Okay.
How come they did it so much lower? I can't answer that.
That's a lot.
Well, there's a difference, on
There's quite a bit of
3 and North
difference.
Street.
Now,
They're doing about half.
even with all that said, even though I need this approved tonight, it's even gonna be less than the 8,500 because 610 North Third got torn down today. So it'll be $2,300 less than that.
When would they start on it, rather
Today.
no, I mean, if, whoever we award the bid to, do you know when they'd be able to start on it?
I'll call Nick tomorrow, tell him I have the contract, he'll have to come up, sign the contract, and I'll give him a notice to proceed.
Okay.
And then it'll just be as soon as he can get the equipment there. I don't know if he's got something else he's working on this week, but normally what they do, they'll come and start one house, as they get done with one house, and move to the next one. And then they come back later and do the dirt work. So,
I make a motion that we approve the bid submitted by Mueller and Sons for a total project cost of $8,500 and proceed to demolish the structures and clear the properties based on section 8-501 of the Unified Development Code.
Do you need to make note, 610 North Third has already been removed?
no, because the reason why I want to leave that on there, because in this job, you get told so many times that they're gonna do something, and they don't do it, even though I know this one's being done. I'd rather have you vote to okay it, because if for some reason they didn't completely finish the job, I could go in and finish it up, so.
I'll say.
Motion made and seconded.
Will you amend that to, up to project cost of 8,500?
Yeah. Hey Greg, did that cost us any more to leave the garage at Harmony Health over there?
It didn't cost us a dime. By coming to the council, and the council giving me the authority to go after the garage,
So they're-
it forced the
the owners-
homeowner
Okay,
to
gotcha.
do the work.
I noticed they left the in garage, that's good for them.
And that is good, and the in garage is built very well. They just need to clean up the sidewalk.
Who seconded that? Will you remove your second, please? Will you amend that motion to up to $8,500?
I amend whatever I said last. Up to $8,500 and proceed to demolish the structures and clear the properties based on section 8-501.
I'll second that.
There we go. Little parlor pro there. Motion been made and seconded to approve the bid to Mueller and Sons for project total cost up to $8,500. All those in favor, please show a voting sign. Opposed, motion passes. Item 8. Matt, fire engine. Chief.
Brought just a little bit of light reading material for you guys. This is what, when I've been talking about the bid packets and materials we received, this is pretty much all it. I just thought if you had any questions, I'd have the hard data up there to be able to answer any questions for you. This is something that was carried over from a previous council meeting. As you all know, we received CDBG grant funding to pay for approximately 50% of the cost of a new fire engine purchase. And so, as fire chief and administration, we're recommending we move forward for a purchase of a new fire engine from the W.S. Darley Corporation out of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, in the amount of a little over $629,000. Plus equipment to be purchased from W.S. Darley and from Conrad Fire out of Olathe.
Chief, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
And I want you to think real hard on this before you answer my question. You made the statement that the Darling met the specs. Before you answer that, think long and hard on it, because all the information I'm getting, the Darling does not meet the specs here or in this packet right here. Can you answer why the difference?
Don't know what two things you're presenting.
These are from you.
Yes, sir.
They do not meet specs. It does not meet specs.
What, can
As you stated a couple
specific
weeks
on
ago.
what spec it doesn't meet?
In this one right here, it was stated on M1 to exclude the L9. This one here says nothing about the L9 motor. The torque is 250 below spec, 45 horsepower below specs. It does not meet the specs set out forth here.
So I will say that I contacted, I had his name here. I think it's Mr. Brooks, and he's the national sales rep for Harley. And because I went and met with Chief and Neil Brooks, and he's their national rep. I went and met with Chief and we went over the specs together, and I got some of the spec information here. And I called him, and because laid out in these packets, it does say M1 on here that the diesel engine with a minimum of 445 horsepower and a minimum of 1,500 foot-pounds. I have on the L9 here, which it would not have met specs based on horsepower or torque. After talking with him from the Cummins dealer, they sent me the appropriate engine packet. And if you go online to the Cummins website, it doesn't actually.
Cummins, the one that is on the Darling, yes.
It would be the cell line. The horsepower actually it will generate enough horsepower. The engine is not on their website, it's only available for municipalities going into fire trucks and trash trucks, things like that. You can't buy it unless it's going in a truck. That being said, it does not meet the torque rating. I called him back again after he sent me the information, and I asked him, I said, do you understand that we had minimum bid specifications for this? And it was 1,500 foot-pound of torque and 445 horsepower. He said, yes, I understand. I said, did you bid it with another engine? He said, no, we did not bid it with another engine.
So basically what you're telling us, Ron, so that I, because we're talking.
He understood that he did not.
So this particular bid was not bid to the specifications that we asked for in the bid.
Correct, that the other dealers had to meet.
And it's on the torque, exactly, specifically, because I'm looking at the horsepower looks like it lines up.
Well,
At least,
it doesn't even on here. You have to go, like, here, when you go to the L9, it actually says 430 horse.
Okay.
When you go online, it even says that. That's why I called him, I said, why, it doesn't say on here, that it's gonna be 445, but on the Cummins website, it says that it won't. And so he sent me the email of the actual specs, the power ratings of it. It will generate enough horsepower, but it did not generate enough torque. So, I don't know how that we can really consider it an equal bid process when he didn't meet the minimum, he understood that he didn't meet the minimum bid specs.
but the Rosenbauer does meet all the specs, is that correct?
As far
Chief?
as,
No, sir. None of the trucks bid met 100% of the specs, not one of them. The Pierce, the Rosenbauer, the Darley did not. When we specify a very highly customized apparatus, we throw out the specifications we want they bring back as close to what they can get as possible. The Darley did not meet on the torque, it did meet on the horsepower, but there were other things that all of them missed the mark on, and that's why we narrowed the list down to the Darley, the Rosenbauer, and one of the 5 Pierce submissions, was because those were the closest to what our specs were.
So what,
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Ron. Ron, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted
so
you.
what that means, what didn't meet specs with the Rosenbauer and the Pierce?
I would have to go through,
Because I know when I buy a vehicle, the last 2 trucks that I bought for the engine. Specifically. And I was willing to pay an extra $20,000 for that. So it's kind of a big deal when we're talking about an engine, and especially when we had talked about the L9 being excluded.
Yeah, and two of the bidders bid the X12 and only one bid the L9. Why is the discrepancy there if the specs that were supposed to be sent out said to exclude the L9? Why did Darling bid the L9?
When Darley had, their sales rep, Mr. Brooks, had contacted me, and he had said, I'll be more than happy to bid the X12 if you'd like me to, but the price difference between the X12 and the L9 is going to be between $25,000 and $30,000 extra dollars. From my professional standpoint, as a person who builds and sells fire trucks, I believe that in Iola, Kansas, you guys are not going to derive that much extra benefit out of the X12. It's more than what you need for a community in a relatively flat part of Kansas. And he said, if I could, I would like to bid mine without the L9 in exchange so I can give you a lower bid price so that we can get more bang for your buck. And that was a conversation that we had had with other vendors as well about, hey, we can do this if you want to do this, but would you want to do something else different instead because this is going to be too expensive of an option?
But isn't that going against the specs, what was set forth?
And
Letting them bid the L9?
yes, and that is correct. That was it being on their ability to.
That's going against the specs.
Correct, but in the same token, all of the vendors had things that didn't meet the specs. You know, I mean, I'm flipping through right now with the Rosenbauer, some of the things that they didn't meet the specifications on as far as, I'm trying to think what some of the things were, hydraulic pull-down ladder rack was something that was in the specs that none of them had. Onboard GPS was something the Rosenbauer didn't meet. I'm not trying to beat up the Rosenbauer, I'm just kind of trying to answer your questions. A map pocket in the door, this is what the first few pages. So none of them were 100%, so we're going to exclude one apparatus for not meeting 100% of the specs. Just in all fairness, none of them did.
So I'm assuming like things like a map pocket were optional?
No, sir, that was one of the specifications.
Well, no, I'm looking at the specs here, and it says some things are optional. I can't imagine that a map holder was one of those make or breaks of the truck.
That was one of the specifications, yeah, because of the fact that it wasn't listed as an optional spec, it was just listed as here's something that we want in our specifications.
Okay.
When you talked to the rep on the engine, did he offer another option, or what did he say about it?
He did not offer, so what he explained to me was that Darley had found a way that they could create enough, what they considered to be enough torque with the L9 to adequately make the engine run. Now, that being said, he's also a salesman. I guess the issue that I have is that we gave these specs, and the biggest thing is when you're looking at an engine, we asked Darley apparently to bid with the L9, which is $30,000 cheaper compared to the other two that didn't do that. They met what we had asked them to.
So the X12 is what the Pierce has?
Correct, and the Rosenbauer. And then Pierce, when they came through, they gave 19, when they submitted their bid, they gave 19 different things here of what they could have done to, options that we could have removed to lower the cost.
That's $37,135, except for the phone system.
And I had one other thing, because this has gone on so long, I just hadn't thought about it. When when we got this grant, we were bidding for a truck, not equipment and everything else. I also talked to CDBG, and they said that we did have to go with the lowest bid, but it also had to go with if it met specs or not. But as we sit here and talk, we talk about taking the lowest bid, but then why are we allowed to go through and add all this equipment? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, in some ways, I would think this is somewhat like the trucks or the backhoes that we did. Pick a model that you like, so you list all those specs, but other John Deere or some other company, they don't have quite the same specs. So what's your proposed solution here? Because does Darley have the option of putting on the X12 and upping their price $30,000?
I think they do have the option of doing it, but they don't like to.
Just because of price, or?
Because they don't think that it's necessary. I asked him, I said, did you submit it with a bid that was not our specs? And he said no. And I said, so you were aware that it did not meet our specs? He said, yes.
So what's your recommendation?
Well,
I mean, how important is that extra torque? Because it says that the L9 has 450 horse versus 5 more for the X12.
well, and it's not so much the horsepower,
It's the torque rate.
Right.
So
So it's 250 less.
doesn't this torque?
So, you know, and I don't know if any of you guys have went through the specifics of the equipment list that we have bid. I mean, we have some big ticket items on there. I mean, we have thermal imaging cameras. I think it was 13,000. How many thermal imaging cameras do we have now? 3?
I believe that's correct.
I mean, it goes all the way down to bar and chain oil for.
Can I just ask a question? How much of the equipment that is on the current truck can actually be taken off that truck and put on the new truck? Do we have to buy all of that again? I mean, I don't know, I'm not a firefighter, but, I mean, it seems to me like if you buy something that has a bunch of accessories and those accessories will still fit, you just transfer over your accessories.
And I'm thinking out loud here, Nancy, sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Wouldn't you actually want to put it on, that way you have both trucks that are fully equipped?
You were getting rid of one of the trucks.
Well, I think if I was buying a new vehicle, I would want all new equipment. Personally.
I don't know that, Nancy, I don't know that we discussed, when I talked with the chief, I don't think he intended on getting rid of the other truck.
I thought we were getting rid of the truck. I thought that was I thought that was the whole thing.
One
is
of
we
them,
were.
but we don't know which one. We have it back in. There are 2 trucks right now.
So we don't need a vote.
Well, we did discuss that. Versus one that's 20 years
See, I
old.
thought that's what I thought, that there was a truck that we were getting rid of. We could strip everything off of that truck to continue to use if the equipment was usable. And so I
I don't know, I think we're a little in the weeds here, and I don't,
have a vote on that, but I'd like to resolve this issue.
that one is,
Yeah.
I mean, before we get to the equipment issue, we gotta get into this fire truck issue.
I guess for me, I'd like to see bids that
And I guess
are
that's part of
closer
it.
to the same.
And I think that's part of it, because we're bidding 2 trucks, and we're bidding another truck with equipment.
Can we do a rebidding process?
Yes.
Hold on, let me start asking CDBG here about timeline and legalities here. Would you mind coming up, and talking to us about the timeline here and the bid process, and, because we may not be able to rebid, because we may be throwing the baby out with the bathwater on that. So, let me ask up here, about this timeline. When, we've gotta get this basically signed and done pretty quick, don't we?
Well, yeah, because it would take 16 months to build a truck.
I can't hear you. Can you guys maybe just,
Yeah, you're 16 months, or
How long
no,
does it take to build
16
a
months to
fire
build a truck.
What's the
And-
timeline on the grant?
It's 24 months, and so we have 19 months.
I know that one of the bidders that we had spoken about at the last council meeting, Sutphen, one of the reasons they didn't bid was because they're 18 to 20 months out right now, so they didn't submit a bid back in May. Not all of them are that backlog, but some of them are.
So
guess we have to decide, first of all, do we accept a vehicle that doesn't meet all of the minimum specs, and how important is that? Because I'm thinking of the same quandary we had when we did backhoes or trucks or something. Go from one make and model to another, they don't all kind of mesh in the specs that you put out there.
Well, I'll put it as in, since I deal with lawnmowers, I buy the biggest one that I can because of the work that I have to do. That's what the work that has to be done, I have to have the biggest engine that I can get.
I guess for me, it is the fact that the people that use this equipment came to our meeting and expressed that this was not the truck they wanted. This was not what they wanted. They didn't think it met the specs. They felt that the Pierce was the better of the vehicles, and they're the ones out there in those vehicles, and they're the ones whose lives are potentially put in danger, or the ones out there trying to save other lives. So to me, I'm going to listen to those guys.
Well, on the other hand, on the bidding process, and maybe one of the branch, I think they would say, well, I want this one because I'm in favor, I'm partial to this company, you gotta take the low bid.
And I realize that. I mean,
This is
so that's
the low bid,
where,
though.
it's the low bid, but
There's lower bids on it.
I don't know.
I'm talking about the Pierce is the one we want.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not comfortable taking a bid that didn't meet the specs.
So Carl, I guess because it didn't meet the specs, does that mean that we should go with the Ferrara for $507?
Because that's a little bid.
Yeah.
I mean, it says that it didn't meet our basic bid specs, but if we want to say that, that was the Darley.
So all things being
I mean, it's
equal,
the
it would be the,
It is a
none of these
$700,000 purchase.
and none of these funds, none of these trucks meeting base specification.
I don't think you're ever gonna get one that meets every specification.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is I was gonna
Well, that's
say.
right, but that is a valid point, though. If we're not gonna get everything that meets every specification, and we have to go with the lowest bid, then,
Well, the other two,
I mean, technically,
I think it would be the Rosenbauer then.
the other ones were rejected because of length, aren't they?
Yes, among many other things, but they weren't close to our specifications, length being the biggest one, but they would not fit the station.
So
Pretty easy.
you do have to make some judgment calls here on which
You say they're not
is
close.
most important.
The Rosenbauer is 1 inch longer.
Not the Rosenbauer, the Ferrera and some of the Pierce demo units.
Well, another thing that concerns me is Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. How are we gonna get that are we gonna load that up there and haul it up there if we have major problems with it? I mean, mobile truck that comes around in service, they're gonna be very limited on what they do, like, when we take the one to, where's it, Kansas City or wherever for, to get work done? Are we gonna load that up on a semi and send it to Wisconsin if we have to be worked on?
As far as the cab, chassis, motor, and drivetrain, those can all be worked on either in Joplin or in Kansas City at a shop there that handles there's an engine shop in Joplin and a shop that handles the cab and chassis in a Kansas City suburb. The only thing that will be proprietary to Chippewa Falls is the poly body, the actual physical molded plastic body of the apparatus.
It says
And that has interchangeable parts, correct?
I don't 100%. It's molded plastic, and so it's kind of one of those things where I don't 100% know the answer to that question.
What is the difference of 250, what does 250 work mean on this truck?
To me, I am not a mechanic, and so that basically just gives the vehicle, to really make it simple, a little more pulling power. Horsepower and torque kind of go hand in hand as far as how much work the truck can do mechanically.
No, I understand the torque side of things. What I mean is what does 250 torque mean? So you use the example of lawnmowers. I'm in the cell phone game. So if I looked at somebody and said, hey, this has got an IP68 rating, this has got an IP67 rating, that's probably foreign language to most people, but what you don't know is that's water resistance. And unless you plan on diving into a pool for a meter and swimming around for a while, the IP68 versus the IP67 is not going to make a whole lot of difference. So my question is what are we doing with fire trucks that we need to tie it around something and pull with?
It's not so much as it's pulling as it is when you have a fire engine, you switch it over, PTO over to run the pump.
Okay.
So when you have more horsepower, you get more water.
How much does 250 make?
But doesn't the pump rating on the Darley higher than the pump rating on the rest of them?
They all kind of coincide and go hand in hand, but
Yeah. I don't have a good answer here. Carl, it looks like you were chomping to say something.
I wouldn't certainly look at it this, project the lawn as, since he's has some hands-on experience. I don't see a problem with having an L9 on one and level 2.
Carl, can you speak up a little bit since we're not like
I agree
people in the
that,
back?
I can see that the horsepower on the engine is 450 on the Darwin versus 455 on the Rosenbauer and Pearson Forester. That doesn't seem to be an issue to me. And the depth gun, the gallons per minute are the same. I'm okay with all of the Darwin division. I think their servicing options, mobile service Iola, cab chassis, and grade out in Missouri, that doesn't seem to be further away than going to Kansas City like we're looking forward to the other car.
And isn't it Pierce the one we're already having trouble with?
Well, we can deal with that, what to do with that truck after we resolve this one.
We'll need it for at least another 16 months.
How long did it work in that 16 months?
Yes. That'd be good enough. That's why we're doing this one. So we're here where we're at. So,
I would suggest we make a motion and see where we stand right now, and then
Carl, do you want to make a motion there?
so, and you're comfortable with spending the extra money on equipment that we don't need? Put on all the extra equipment that we don't need. When we talk about buying a truck, we talk about buying a truck, rather than
I think that if this is an opportunity through the grant to get some extra equipment, I'm okay with it.
Will the grant pay for the extra equipment?
Yes, it's happening.
Well, from what I've been told, a lot of that equipment, since we're 16 months out from delivery, we just start budgeting and putting back and buying.
I just not divide it, I don't have to.
And for somebody else, they have it.
It's not free, we still have to pay that.
They still have to pay half, paying half is a lot better deal than paying 100%. So I would say, while we're buying the truck with the benefit of the grant, that we should buy some of this extra equipment.
There's a list of all the equipment. Probably 90% of that equipment. Is down here.
Carl, do you want to make a motion and see where we're at? And I think with your motion, I don't think there are the votes there, but I'll let you go ahead and see where we're at. And then we can talk and see from there, at least scratch something off if there is next
One
quarter.
more comment on the equipment. I think that comes down to our individual risk, how risk averse we are. If I walk through the fire department and see all the stuff we have, how often do we need this or that or the other? But it's there for that one time a year where we need it. And I don't have a problem with the extra. But anyway, I'll make a motion.
I don't really have a problem with the equipment side on this.
What are we gonna do with all the other equipment after we sell the other truck? I didn't hear you. I mean, that's what it is. We have all the equipment on the other truck that we're gonna sell, and we're gonna put in storage. This just doesn't make sense.
So we don't even know whichever truck we're going to sell, and
They're all pretty well equipped the same.
I imagine we go through to determine the oldest stuff.
okay, let me make a motion. Approve the purchase of the new Darley Vision fire engine from W.S. Darley and Company in the amount of $629,858, and approve the purchase of necessary firefighting equipment from W.S. Darley and Company in the amount of $23,372.54, and Conrad Fire in the amount of $36,768.72, and authorize staff to execute the necessary documents for the purchase to meet CDBG grant requirements.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second has been made. All those in favor, please show a voting sign. Opposed? Motion carries. On to the next issue. I guess there's two issues now.
Well, then the question is, if that X9, L9 engine is the issue,
They cannot rebid it.
Unless everyone rebids it.
unless everybody else rebids. So I think there's an option to do that.
We just voted this down. We just did this because we were worried about opening the bids back up because of time frame.
So here's my thought. Without denying the grant, say we won't use it, we would ask for an extension if we come down to that point. Because of the lengthy time that it takes to build this unit. I mean, if everybody's so hard set on L9 versus an X12, let's just extend this for 30 days, rebid the engines, bring it back to us.
Let me ask you why we should give a vendor that we have no business dealings with.
Well, that's a personal preference.
No, we have never done business with them. Well, then, we've never done business with them, so we don't have a.
Oh, you mean that we haven't done business with versus one we don't want to do?
Right.
Gotcha.
When they had the same opportunity to bid under these specifications, and they didn't do it, knowing that they didn't meet the specifications.
I would say if you're rebidding, they all rebid.
Yes,
Or give that opportunity for everyone. That would be,
Everyone needs to rebid.
And when it goes out,
I'd like to see the
when it
bids.
goes out, if this is the same set of specs that's used, if they say exclude the L9, then this other set of specs that go out, it should still exclude the
Do
L9.
we have the option of saying on the bid, here are our desired specs, and not say minimum specs?
That's, the bid somewhere in there says something to that effect, is desired specs, and we understand that not all bidders would be able to hit our specs. That was included in the bid
Just put
documentation.
on there only the items that are really,
I mean, if they can't hit our specs, they don't want our business. This way, I don't care.
Right, but the trick is we've got somebody willing to pay half the money.
I guess I would like to know, as before we decide to rebid everything, you say that Rosenbauer and Pearson didn't meet specifications, and I'd like to know what it was.
I would have to go through all that to give you an exhaustive list. I know hydraulic ladder rack was one that none of them met. I could go through, small points here and there. And I mean, I'll even admit, there was a couple things in the specifications that all the bidders said, we can't do this. This is something that's not doable, that isn't an industry standard. We'd included something in the specs that was a Pierce proprietary thing that I didn't realize that was only done by Pierce, that Rosenbauer and Darley both couldn't do.
So
So
why did you stand up here and tell us that the Darley met all the specs that one night for? If it didn't meet all the specs, and I got to do some digging and prying and looking around and found otherwise.
if I had said that they met all the specs, I apologize. I did not mean to say that.
You did, Chief.
Oh, I certainly apologize
You
because that
said
was
that
not.
the Darley met all of the specifications set out by the specs.
I think we're a little off on the weeds here with what we're doing and
I did have a
where
question
we're
about the
going.
grant. As far as the timeline on it, did they do any extensions or anything else like that as far as because of COVID?
Not for CDG that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So
I mean, I
part
would
of
say
that,
we just need to get that back out there again, get the bids again, and have these specific things that they have to have, specific, the same. And then bring it all back, and you know the ones that didn't need it the first time, they're not gonna, the ones that you completely threw out, I mean,
Because of lighting.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
but let's get these ones that are close, let's get them all bidding the same thing.
Yes, that would help, because,
It's a lot of money.
vehicles like this, where you have different manufacturers, it's kind of like, maybe some vehicles are very close, like a Nissan versus a Honda versus a Toyota. But we need to specify whether it's desired, or if that's an actual absolute minimum, like the length, for whatever reason, here's what we have to have.
See, and Carl, I think that's already been done.
So if we eliminated the Darley,
It lays it out in here of what's required and an optional thing.
okay, so if we took the Darley out of this, saying that they didn't meet the spec on the Torque, what would be our next option?
It would be the Rosenthal.
Well, and I guess the Rosenbauer, I mean, it's gonna come down to what we're gonna have as required spec.
Yeah, it does. Because if Darley would come back and say, all right, we'll put an X12 on this, up our price to $660, I'm kind of thinking we would have to go out and bid. We did, rather than start picking and choosing now which one we'll accept, which one we won't, for various reasons.
And with that being said too, though, we've got a list of $40,000 here that
37,000.
they've already said that.
we didn't lose access to the grant by voting it down, did we?
Well, I want everybody to know, I want Iola to have a new fire truck. I'm not against it. I don't want to lose the grant. I just want it to be to me, it doesn't seem like the bidding process was on a fair, even field. And that's my point that I'm getting at tonight.
I guess my point is, it's a lot of money. Yes, it's a big chunk with that grant, but it is a lot of money overall. So we need to make sure that we are getting the best piece of equipment that we can get, that's going to be the best piece of equipment for saving lives.
And it's apples
That
to
we can
apples,
get.
same
And,
thing.
I mean, we cannot discount what Conrad Fire had done to us on the equipment that we do have. They ate thousands, if not $100,000 of repairs and equipment.
So I think we need to be cautious about some of the discussions with the vendors when they come back and say, well, can we substitute this for that? And unless you do it for all of the bidders and submit a revised bid request, then you don't discuss the bid.
Well, I think
Something different with one, you have to do with the other.
I think that was done just whenever the department sat down with Pierce. They pretty much took a ideal fire truck approach. Whenever they sat down with representatives from Pierce, and that was how we ended up with Pierce's bid, so.
So I think back to 20 Nancy's made you.
From what I understand, they're from Pierce came down, and they sat down and built the truck off of this.
Let's move forward here, because I think there's enough consensus here just to reopen those bids or ask those three bids to amend their bids, because if we ask them all to amend their bids, that is fair and level, right? And say, hey, we're asking you to amend your bids.
Well, it's not,
To include-
I don't know if it's gonna be an amendment, but a resubmit.
Yeah, reopen the bid process.
To resubmit. Carl, you want to make that motion?
Make a motion that we request the vendors to resubmit their bids with a suspense of 30 days from when you can send it back out.
Ron, you want to second that for
To
me?
meet the specs set out.
Well, if you alter the specs, then alter them before you send it out.
That was my question, because like I said, some of the specs in there, like something that I put in there that was proprietary to Pierce, that there's no way another vendor could meet. Or something that was in there that all three said, there's no way you can afford in your specs.
Take them out.
But, I mean, that's what I don't want the council to think I'm trying to do an end around by changing the specs, but yet I want to make sure if we do any tweaks, we're doing it according to oil.
Level playing field for everyone.
Yes. I'd like to see a copy of the specs too, so I can compare with what's on here.
Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to rebid. All those in favor, please show voting sign. Opposed? Motion passes. Let's move forward. What I would suggest you do, Ron, if you want to see those specs or talk to Matt, and go through Matt's office on that. If that's okay with you, rather than doing directly, and go like that chain of command and meet with Matt and talk to him for a bit.
Don't you have a copy of this books?
I just want to see what they put out on there.
What they changed on.
You know, like Garley and
Okay. You can send that out to everyone.
Just get that out to everyone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Item, executive session A,
I move the city council.
15.
15.
15.
I move the city council resume their executive session for 15 minutes prior to contract negotiations. KSA 75-4319.3. Purpose of the executive session is to prepare for future or current contractual discussions and shall include the mayor, council, city administrator, or is not here, so I'll mention him, fire chief. The regular meeting shall.
And our legal counsel.
Oh, okay, it's not on there. And legal counsel, meeting shall resume at
6 after.
7:06.
Second. Motion made, seconded, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. For those of you that had other item agendas, the only thing we're going to do and come back is council administrator reports. So, like, you can leave whenever after your items, normally what we do, so. There it goes. Okay, we're now in line for council and administrator reports. Anyone want to start?
I don't have anything.
I brought up before about street sweepers. I had a concern about it with the safety of not really getting to see it, and especially with the chip and seal now. I think it really needs a full-size light bar on the back of that thing. I've got a picture of it, and I was within a block, and I couldn't see which lane was in. So, to protect our employees, to protect our citizens and our equipment, I would appreciate it if you put something on there. That's all I have.
Congratulations to Mike Phillips, Pam Crooms, and Chuck Hedman on their years of service. Sounds like Pam may have decided she's going to retire.
She has decided she's going to retire.
She is, talk about it, doesn't happen.
Well, she seemed pretty sure about this. I think I'm just,
I don't have anything.
I had a resident bring up a question about why we're not letting the chip and seal. I guess there's an environmental issue. If you leave it free floating, the oil-based texture of it can land in gardens and plants and things like that and cause issues. And the dust from driving over it, I guess, can cause issues with car paint. So I was curious if there was a reason we weren't letting it down.
So I've never heard of that, actually, but something we can check
I
it.
watched it before they picked it.
So, yeah, we watched it before.
And then they pick it up pretty quick with that machine, don't they?
Sweeper does it. The
Sweeper
process
does the body.
Yeah, the process that we use is the cleanest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we, and a lot of, we can check it, but if there's a step in that process, we can take it. We can look into it.
A lot of places just let all that stuff go into the drains and into the waterways. It's basically what happens if you go to a storm. Carl, did you want to add something there?
Well, the reason why we pay extra for this rock is because it has less dust than a normal chip and seal product.
Okay.
And so, I mean, there is some dust, it'll probably a week, and they put it down until they sweep the food. It's, and that's just part of the chip and seal process, have a little dust. but it's not monthly meetings.
Okay.
It's a lot better than what it used to be.
It's not-
Yeah.
Well, it's not more monthly than Augusta.
That being said, I'll move on. I like the chip and seal. If you look at our streets versus basically anywhere else in the county, our streets are pretty good given their age. We don't have a lot of potholes. Yeah, they got some issues that show in their age, but drive around elsewhere, you'll notice that we're in pretty good shape. So we need to keep that planning program going.
I had a resident bring up a question on mosquito spraying. Not that he was against mosquito spraying, but the truck has been coming out early, like shortly after 7:15. It's not dusk yet. And you should spray for the mosquitoes before dusk, number one, because of the bee population. If you're spraying too soon, the bees haven't gone back to their beehives for the night, and your mosquitoes start coming out at dusk. So it just, maybe our mosquito spraying time needs to be pushed back just a little bit.
I guess we can look into it. That's a bit of a catch-22 because then you're out later
You're right, but,
and then you're past them, they're out. We can look at something.
but it might be something though that we do want to be sure we're looking into. We don't want to hurt the bee population any more than it's already been. And we want to be spraying at the time that's going to do the best at killing those pesky mosquitoes. So, and then also I had another resident just bring up that old nursing home again. There were some areas where air conditioners, those panels have been kicked in again, and some more doors and windows open, so.
With the mosquito spray, I don't know if you know Matt or not, our cost almost tripled last year with spray. You know if that cost came back down? About like 75,000 for spray because of COVID.
75,000?
It was about 20,000 maybe the budget.
I know. Especially all green.
I remember that we had talked about it. I remember Dan telling us that the price of the sword. I was curious if they came back down.
Thought he switched to a different company.
Maybe so.
I'm thankful for the new water lines in front of my house, and if you want to talk dust, come down there and look at the dust from that, because there's a lot of it. But I am glad I'm getting a new line, and you won't have to be dug up every other week.
They're doing a heck of a job on that.
Matt?
Yeah, just one thing, just kind of advice to anyone watching with the heat wave coming, take precautions.
Don't forget your critters.
Yeah, that, if you're feeling ill, go inside. SBP did let us know we're in one of those high consumption times, and if you're out and about during high
Reed,
consumption
running out
times.
there? Are we running at the firehouse? Are we generating?
Oh, yeah.
I did have one question, Matt. The Hector construction, I know that we got the email about 65,000. Is that what we decided to do, is take 65,000 off?
Yeah.
I had one more thing. ACARF has said that they're having issues with the officers not scanning for microchips. And I didn't know if that was because animal control had left it in the vehicle or what was going on there. But I was asked if I would bring up the idea that just, if we could put a little more effort into trying to reconnect animals with their homes. Most of the time, if an animal gets away, it's within its neighborhood. If there's time, we could, ask around the neighborhood and find out if somebody owns it. I know they're getting pretty full out there.
Shane, take us away.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this one meeting for the evening.
Motion made, seconded, all those in favor?
And
Opposed?
chair stands.
Okay.
Section.
Nancy, I think.
75. Sometime to do this